Not only is delusion necessary for manifestation, it's also necessary in life, and we're going to discuss exactly why today and how to effectively be delusional so that you can manifest anything that you desire. Before we even go into that, there's this really beautiful study that I want to put at the forefront of your mind. And that is a study commissioned by NASA in the 1960s. Basically, NASA wanted to understand how can we find more geniuses, right? Because it's NASA, they need some geniuses, they need some creative minds, some problem-solving minds, forward-thinking minds, right? So they got this guy by the name of George Land, and as he created the study, the first thing that they did was go to a group of 5-year-old children and give them a creativity test. The way they would measure whether the child was a genius or not was how the child would use their creative imagination to solve problems. Now, even before we go to the data, just think for a moment. Everything in this life that we experience in our modern day reality, including the technology that you and I are communicating through, the laptop, the Wi-Fi, the camera, the cell phone, the airplanes, everything, the modern day architecture, everything from electricity, like literally everything, okay? It was a creative insight. Using our creative imagination is our superpower. You've heard this in the world of manifestation before. And if you haven't, let me know and I'll create a video for you, right? I want to know more about my creative imagination. So, the results are going to shock you because 98% of these children were geniuses based on the test. But, and this is where it gets messed up. 5 years later, at the age of 10, this percentage dropped to 30. So there were 98% geniuses at the age of 5, and now it's come down to 30. Fast track to the age of 15, so another 5 years, you guessed it, it went down even more to 12. And that's when NASA was like, okay, we don't know what we're doing with this. And George Land decided to take the study even further and go into adulthood. And that percentage dropped to 2%. 2%. Okay? And the thing is that he attributed it to school, because all that happened is that all of these children went through the process of school, and the school basically system took not speaking proper English here, 98% genius population and dumbed it down to 2% with uncreative behavior. You were born a genius. Let that sink in. To be delusional is to defy and deny in many ways certain aspects of the 3D reality. It is to deceive yourself in some ways from some aspects of the 3D reality. But the thing is, you've been deceived. You were a genius and you were dumbed down, as was I. Like, think about that. So when people say, don't be delusional, you gotta be realistic, why on earth would you want to be realistic when you have all these confirmations of things that you don't want? So we're going to talk about 3 layers of delusion, because there is one part where it is fundamental for you to have a certain aspect of realistic outlook just to keep yourself safe and in a flow. And we're going to discuss even how, by paying attention to that, it's actually going to propel you to manifest even faster. And let's just get into it. Let's do it. All right. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Atena. On this channel, we learn to love ourselves unconditionally and we manifest our dream realities. So if that's something you're interested in, you should consider subscribing. And make sure you click the like button if you like this video. It really does help out the algorithm, you know, get it out to other people. What happens? Why is it that after the age of 5, like, yes, there's a schooling system, there's also probably like your parents and other members of society that were also brainwashed in a certain way. The thing is that at the age of 5, by the time you reach the age of 5, 50% of your emotional intelligence is built. So you start also associating in the world who you are based on what you're told, based on what you see. You literally live in your ego as a child. So you take everything quite literally personally. And before the age of 7, you don't have this thing called a critical factor, which blocks certain things from coming in. This is a good and bad thing. We're going to talk about why. Okay? So what happens is that as your critical factor starts to harden and your conscious, critical, analytical mind starts to be developed, you will literally start deleting, distorting, and generalizing the information that you scan your reality in your 3D physical reality to validate what's in the back end of your mind. And so sometimes this is a good thing, but sometimes it's a bad thing, right? And so we want to disentangle the bad part, or the part that I don't like to call it bad, the part that's not serving you, okay? Some things have served you and it's time to ditch them. It's time to get delusional, let them go so that you manifest what you actually desire, who you're meant to be, and what you're meant to experience. In every single moment, you think you see reality for what it is, but factually, scientifically, we've now started determining, again, people using their creative imagination to create measuring tools to understand what's going on. We've determined that there are about 11 billion bits of information that come at you at every moment. You only digest between 50 and 126 bits, which means that you are very selective in what you pick out to pay attention to. So when you start becoming delusional, the first thing you're going to be starting to do is start to unselect the things that don't reflect what you truly desire in your heart. You start to disentangle the lies that you have been told. So some people will say, why are you're being delusional, believing that you can achieve this, but maybe you're actually undelusioning from the original deception that you were fed. Am I making sense? Are you following me? It's like we have all been hypnotized to believe in a certain way. And as I got certified in hypnosis and I began to hypnotize myself to remember that I'm the vibration of love, and I began to do this with other clients, and I started to see the impact, it's like we are hypnotizing ourselves to remember our foundational truths, the truth of the truth. And so this allows us to actually go for the things that we want to go for in this life. And in fact, the wilder your dream is, the one that feels absolutely crazy, that's in your heart, I want to read you this quote by Khalil Gibran. I don't have that. This is a really powerful journal, Step into the Chrysalis. There aren't that many quotes in here, but this one I put from Khalil Gibran from the book The Prophet. In the depths of your hopes and desires lies the secret knowledge of beyond. Trust the dreams, for in them is the hidden gateway to eternity. So when you have this crazy desire and this manifestation that you want to bring forward that will require a level of delusion, it's actually the secret of your soul's growth. It's what you are meant to experience in this life. It's remembering that you are such a beautiful, powerful being. You are literally made of star stuff. You are a part of the abundance of Mother Nature, Mother Earth. It's like literally remembering that there's a 400 to billion one odds that you are born. Let that sink in. You are wanted, you are needed, and the things that you desire from your heart, they are meant for you. Affirm here with me. Every day, in every way, I'm remembering my soul's wisdom. Every day, can you even tap on your body? In every way, I am remembering my soul's wisdom. Every day, in every way, I am remembering my soul's wisdom. This sentence, every day, in every way, and you can fill it in with whatever you desire, use this almost like a robotic affirmation. We put this in hypnotic tracks when I create them for clients, or even when I create them for myself. And if you want to create it for yourself, go ahead. There's literally a video where I explain how to hypnotize yourself so that you plant those neural pathways, those thought waves within your subconscious mind, even within your body. Because in hypnosis, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that feels safe to receive these words, to receive this new reality. And as you start being delusional and you start confirming repeatedly what it is that you desire, guess what happens? You start scanning, deleting, and distorting reality in your favor. You begin to magnetize the right opportunities for you. And so what gets really tricky though, what we want to really pay attention with this delusion is, number one, we want to pay attention to the law of vibration. So what is your mental diet, your emotional diet, and your physical diet? And I'm not going to get too deep into this because we literally discussed it in last video. Go ahead and watch that because I give a lot of examples. But fundamentally, the law of vibration is what's the vibration that you're emitting at every moment. And it comes from your thoughts, it comes from how you feel, and it literally comes from how you physically feel. And sometimes you'll be called to make decisions that don't make sense. Like I shared in that last video as an example, I was called to quit drinking alcohol, quit sugar, and quit caffeine. And literally, if you told me this a couple of years ago, I feel like no. I like my glass of wine, I like my chocolate cakes, and I would die without my morning coffee. And after I realized that, my gosh, these three things really physically lower my vibration, lower my frequency, it messes with my mental focus. Like I set out a desire, but then I can't stay focused on it because of how all of these things are affecting my body. My emotions become less manageable when all of these things are in my body. So as I said goodbye to those things, suddenly I'm thinking clearly. Suddenly I have so much more momentum. Suddenly, like, I feel unstoppable. And so that's the first thing we want to pay attention to as we become more and more delusional in a positive way, to manifest and vibrationally match to our desired reality. Literally, Albert Einstein says it. Match your frequency to your desired reality and you cannot help but become that person. You think like that person, you begin to process your emotions like that person, you physically feel like that person. Guess what? You are that person who manifested that. The second thing we want to really mind as we are becoming delusional is when you are getting delusional in order to manifest your dream reality, you are going to be stepping into a field of possibilities and potentiality, aka the unknown, okay? That's what it is. You've lifted the veil, you've stepped into this beautiful universe, the galaxies, the wildness of the different energies, and all of a sudden, you are going to be in the field of unknown. It's always easy to see how things happen when you look back, but you can't quite do it looking forward, okay? Now, where you want to mind your delusion is when you have a lot of predictable needs that need to be met. So, for example, when you have a lot of predictable bills and you are in this place where you want to manifest a new relationship with money, what you want to do is, yes, get delulu about what it is that you can call in, but you also want to set up a system to pay attention to this predictable aspect that's currently in your 3D reality. So that means looking at your bank account, that means paying your bills on time, but that also means that you are disconnecting from the energetic charge of it in some ways. So for example, I used to feel really like, this is a programming from my childhood, a very victim mindset when it comes to money. I would just ignore it and go straight into delusion. And that did not feel good because this is the thing. When you have a predictable thing and you ignore it, it just doesn't feel good. So finally, I started to read books on money, go into some coaching containers where I upgrade my money mindset and install new habits. And I stopped identifying with that old story. I started using, one of the things I'll encourage you is to use the energy of courage. Courage is that point where you see your fears, you see the 3D, and you choose to confront it without allowing it to mean anything about you. And what happens is that as you tap into that energy of courage, and by the way, we're gonna have a workshop specifically on this, on the energy of courage. I'm gonna link that below in case you're interested. But essentially what happens is that when you tap into that energy of courage, you become neutral about what is. When you become neutral and it stops affecting you the way it used to, you start to build a trust with yourself. You trust yourself in that field of possibilities and potentiality. You have a lot more stamina, a lot more, like, your ability to focus and be delusional in a positive way just goes through the roof. Something that can also really support you in this is Let's say you want to manifest a new behavior or boundaries, right? Boundaries are a little tricky, right? And it's like we're changing relationships in our lives. So think of a person potentially that you want to place a boundary with, or whatever it is. You're going to be changing up the daily routine of what you're habitually feeling. And so one of the most powerful things you can do is journal every single day, or create any kind of solid routine that allows you to feel grounded. So like, for instance, inside the journal, step into the chrysalis, every night, seen, heard, loved. So I journal right here, how did you embrace today? So I know that as I'm going and manifesting new realities, I'm setting new boundaries and doing all these things, every night I'm being seen, heard, and loved. Seen, heard, loved. And I know that every morning I'm going to be setting an intention. So that allows a form of predictability. This is why habits, routines, and rituals are fundamental. It's getting really hot in here. So I really have to turn the AC on. I hope the noise doesn't bother anyone. Okay, so the third part of how to be delusional is going to be a very unpopular opinion, especially in the world of manifestation. And I still wanted to have the audacity to share it with you because, honest to goodness, it has completely changed my life, and it has built an emotional resilience that is just very sturdy. I don't know how else to put it. So you have free will, and it's very important to use your free will with dignity, with clarity, with focus, amongst other things. You can use your free will to manifest whatever it is that you want. And in the beginning, when I started to become a conscious manifester, I couldn't decipher which things were actually meant for me, like my heart yearns for this, and what things are coming from my conditioned ego, or perhaps I am being influenced by the collective in a certain way. And what I realized over time is that the more I grow my relationship with God, and I resisted using the word God for quite a while. I used God as a child, and then I let it go, and then I came back to the word of God, because for me, God is that source energy. It's that place where as humans we choose to come down here on this earth. And bear with me for a moment, because I'm going somewhere with this. We are all unique in our own ways. No one has the same thumbprint as you. No one has the exact tonalities as you. No one has the exact same yearnings in the exact same ways as you. You are special, you are unique. And at the same time, as a collective, we all have like some common problems. I don't know how to say it. Like, we all fear being judged. We all fear this. We all fear that. That said, the more I listen to the plan that originally brought me down on this earth, as I chose to be born, as my soul came down on here, which I call God's plan. Your soul plan is God's plan. The more I listen to this, I realize that I can surrender my fears and doubts to God. They are not my burdens to carry. I am held in the vision and in the light and in the love of God. The more I surrender the ego wants and I willingly take in God's plan, the more things have beautifully manifested in my life. Literally, from leaving my career that I spent 10 years building, understanding that this was never meant for me, even though I could make a lot of money doing that, to manifesting a love that allows me to feel safe and expansive and seen and heard and loved, and to continue to grow that love, to traveling. Like, my husband and I are living in beautiful Antigua and Barbuda. All of these things, and sometimes listening to the attunement. Like, my ego did not choose to quit alcohol. This was God speaking to me, literally letting me know. I remember deep in prayer and meditation, really hearing it clearly. My child, you cannot go where you want to go until you give this up. And so as I listened to that, I didn't, yes, now I see all the signs. I didn't even see the signs of how alcohol affected me. In retrospect, I'm like, okay. And I also saw this photo on Instagram where it's like your plan and then God's plan. And so the way I can explain that, how I choose to manifest and choose to become delusional enough to believe God's plan for me, is that I learned to listen to my heart, listen to the whispers of my intuition, ask for help, like literally sometimes, like asking to release these burdens so that I can continue to stay delusional and to believe in what it is that I need to believe. To have a belief is to have faith and to have trust in the unknown. And so when I feel like I'm being led by a greater power than me, than my own human free will, there is just such an ease that settles in. I'm not crazy to be delusional, like I'm just the right amount of crazy. Let me know how that lands for you. If you enjoyed this video, please just make sure you give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you are manifesting, if you are into being delusional. And until next time, bye. Be delusional, baby. Delusional, baby. The weird shit you do to get in the